Chapter 4. Somehow, during the night Wilder slept soundly. That meant that he was getting well. Or was it a feeling of contentment that had eluded him since he became an alpha wolf? Wilder, the elder of his two brothers, Lysel and Drayton, were born into a pack of werewolves, who had scattered all over the United States when men were hunting and destroying wolves out of fear, and because they hunted the deer and elk like the humans. The humans didn't like encroachment on their territories, just as wolves disliked them for the same reasons. The wolves had every right not to tolerate the humans, because humans killed for sport and rarely ate what they killed, but wolves killed for survival. His father, the alpha male, sent them away when his mother, a human, gave birth to the triplet pups. They took their pups to a rendezvous site, the cave, where they could be safe, and brought them food. When they grew older, their father taught them to hunt. The werewolves couldn't maintain large packs then, because men would hunt them down and kill them, thinking they were only wolves. To prevent humans from knowing about werewolves, they dispersed throughout the U.S., keeping their packs small. Some became prominent members of their towns, inhabited by humans. Wilder's father, a respected member of society, was asked to run for governor of the state of Nevada, but he couldn't give up his nature during the hunt, and was eventually killed by a human. Wilder's mother, learning of her husband's death, didn't want to live without him, and she lay in the wilderness and stayed out in the elements, until she died during the worst snowfall of the year. Wilder glanced over at the small human lying in his arms. She wasn't like the females in the packs he controlled. Their fathers tried to mate him with them, but none were like the woman he saw before him, with her beautiful silken honey-colored hair, her arresting, sparkling brown eyes, her strength of spirit. She possessed a softness and kindness that he had never seen before in the females in his packs. When she looked at him, there was no fear of him in her intelligent gold-flecked eyes brimming with passion. He nuzzled his nose in her soft hair to catch her scent. She had the freshness of a wildflower and a freshwater stream filled with fish, a scent he would never forget or want to forget. She belonged to him, and he would claim her for himself and his brothers. Thinking that he could take her now and impregnate her, then she would have no choice but to stay with him, but he would have to do it soon. Who would accept a wolf pup? She would have to come back to him if she dared leave, he thought. He placed his hands on her breasts. Her breasts stimulated all his natural feelings. His gaze soft and appreciative, admiring her full, gorgeous, firm, well-endowed breasts. She could have his pups, and the possibility of siring twins or triplets would not be unheard of. His mother had borne triplets. His two brothers would have pups with her, and soon he would have the pack that he wanted, and they could rule over much of the country. He wouldn't need to leave to check his territory. He could stay on his ranch with Adrianne at his side. Wilder made plans for Adrianne without bothering to consult her. He knew he had power over her. He stroked each breast with his hands and tongue, nipping and tugging with his mouth until they were swollen and red. Yet Adrianne didn't protest. He felt he was too strong, and he had to be gentle with the human. His mother informed her triplets that if they were lucky enough to find a woman who loved them, then they would need to be gentle and patient with her. His large fingers eased through the fur she was wearing, exploring her thighs and between her legs. The pad of his finger found the spot, and he rubbed her clit until she moaned. She lay on her back with her legs opened wide. Wilder was relieved that she wasn't hairy like were females, as he let his nose trail down to her mound to take in her smell, which was intoxicating. It was a turn-on to the highest degree, and he would never forget her. No matter where she went, he would find her. Wilder's excitement was overwhelming, and he became full, his penis throbbing for release when he gazed on Adrianne. He had taken the females in his packs, lined them up like an assortment of chocolate candy, and let his cock taste them one at a time, but none pleased him. Never had he been as excited or aroused by them as he was by this human female, he thought. Glaring at her, Wilder had to have her. Was it because she lay there so innocently sleeping that his natural animal instincts overcame him. She had to be the most beautiful human he had ever seen. Massaging her clit with the pad of his finger, it was swollen and hard. He slid 3 large fingers inside her warm, soaked opening. He brought his fingers to his nose, and he couldn't bear it any longer. Enough. He needed her more than anything else, and his body demanded it. He leaned over her with his arms and fists on all fours, ready to kiss her tempting lips, keeping the weight of his body from touching her. His hard penis, dripping with anticipation, fell on her, and she opened her eyes. "What are you doing?" Adrianne asked playfully, with a smirk and a twinkle in her brown eyes. She knew and she wanted him as much as he hungered for her. Her glance traveled to his deep blue eyes, his dark curly hair as black as a starless sky. His wide shoulders over her, his arms firm and hard, sent her heart pounding, and she felt a need for him to penetrate her. He stared down at her, and she stayed like a statue. His pupils transforming into small slits, he left the man and became the wolf inside of him. He needed to mate, and she needed him to claim her. Adrianne touched his chest. She ran her fingers up and down and lower, until her small hand touched his penis. Then she eased down under him, and placed it in her mouth. Never had Wilder felt a sensation of that magnitude. She brought her mouth up to his manhood, she took it in down into her mouth, filling it. He raised his head, and a loud howl and grunt of satisfaction echoed around the cave. When Adrianne knew that it was lubricated enough with her saliva, she took it from her mouth and eased up to face him. His eyes were once again the deep blue she loved. She helped him guide his penis into her soaked opening. "I don't want to hurt you," he whispered into her hair, as she placed her arms around his neck. "You won't. Human females are made to take a size like yours. After all, we give birth to babies larger than your," she said, glancing down, pointing and smiling to reassure him. Satisfied that he couldn't hurt her, and being careful not to lie his body on her small frame, he began lowering his cockhead into her small opening. She lifted her hips up and down, taking him in, and opening her passage inch by inch to fit him. She let her fingernails crawl up and trail down his back. Adrianne, sensing that he wanted more, she sank her nails and teeth deep into his wide shoulders, which made the lovemaking more intense for Wilder. He increased his movements and demanded more of her body. He hammered at her opening, and Adrianne enjoyed the pleasure she gave him. Her opening squeezed Wilder's large penis as he slammed into her. She felt it rise hard and stiff, and at that moment he pushed it all in, and as the tip of his cock crashed through her opening, it stimulated her, giving her her first orgasm ever. The wolf in him began taking hold, but he calmed himself to control his instincts. She lost herself in his strong chest, as she met his urges with her own, twisting and arching her body upward, taking in more of him. The shock of his insertion took hold of her. She ached. She trembled. She locked his manhood in her opening, sending a warm shiver through Wilder, and he howled with pleasure. Not realizing his strength, he turned her over with his large hands, and before she could protest, he had her spread on all fours, and he knelt behind her, his body more intense. She wanted to stop him, but she knew that once she committed to making love to him, there was no way she could say no. The werewolf in him had taken over the human qualities. He became the wolf, a dangerous predator, and she became his prey. Could she endure 2 more like him? She had to question herself. She looked around, and from the light streaming through the darkness in the cave, a full moon lay overhead. As the intensity of his pounding of her body, and the flow of his fluid brought her to a sudden exciting sexual release once more, she fell to the bare rug spent. He dropped next to her, still with his cock buried inside her, and he reached for her worn-out warm body. "I've never had a female kiss me like that before," he said, stroking her hair, which filled her with throbbing excitement. "I want you for my mate." "What do your wer-females do?" she asked. He looked at her and said, "They don't do that. They know when it's time and they bend over, and I have the first pick since I'm the alpha male. I have packs throughout the world where I have my choice of them. Oh, then I'm with royalty. Excuse me if I don't bend over each time you stand behind me and let you ravish me whenever you choose, Adrianne said with drips of sarcasm and jealousy, but still with a smile on her face. But if you're my mate, and now that I've imprinted on you, you are mine until I don't want you anymore. Adrianne stood with shaky legs, her eyes narrowed, her brow in rows like a plowed field, then placing her hands on her hips she said, "You aren't going to discard me, I'm leaving you. As soon as the snow recedes, I'm out of here." Wilder, trying to make sense of the female and her mood changes, pulled her down to him. "Will you leave me once you're pregnant with my pup?" "I will leave you and your pup." She looked at him, curious about what he'd said. "What do you mean pregnant?" "You're a female. You're carrying my child now," he said, pulling her to him. "Where are you going to go with him? And after he's born, then you will carry my brother's pups, until we have our own family of pups and a large pack. Are you insane? I'm not having a baby. I mean pup for you." He reached and placed his hand near her small belly. "I know you are. We werewolves have a way of knowing when it's a female's time to conceive." "You tricked me," Adrianne said in a huff, rolling away from Wilder. Then easing back to capture his warmth, because the cave had gotten so cold. She would spend this time near Wilder because of the cold. "This is not fair. I'm like a captive audience." "That's a concept that's not true in your case. If you mean captive like prey, that is furthest from the truth. You're not my prey and you're not captive. You can come and go as you please, but you cannot leave as you are pregnant or will be pregnant with my pup. It's dangerous, and you're now my mate. If you choose to leave me, then you cannot take the child. I mean pup. It's too dangerous. The Arikara clan may find out and send in someone to assassinate the child, since he would be my heir. This is way too crazy. Do you expect anyone to believe this shit? Why didn't you tell me all this shit before you fucked me?" she said, knowing that she would have lain with this gorgeous, magnificent creature, even if she had known all that she was learning now. "I didn't fuck you. I felt your opening warm and wet. You needed me as much as I needed to mate with you," Wilder said, his voice hoarse but strong. His thick dark eyebrows making a V in his forehead, as he peered at her with his deep blue eyes, which were encircled by thick black eyelashes. "In my book, you fucked me," Adrianne said, looking into his eyes. Adrianne turned her face and body away from him. Feeling his eyes on her, she tried to wrap her hands around her breasts. She couldn't go far. He was all that separated her from the cold in the room. She felt his body ease behind her, and his penis reacting to the closeness of her heated flesh. His insatiable need for her would continue until the child showed in her belly. He pulled her to him and cupped her ample breasts. He knew that her breasts were tender, and her nipples throbbed from him touching them, and this would entice her to give in to him once more. His long arms reached around, one under her right arm and one arm over her left. She tried wriggling away from him, but to no avail. He had her in his arms, and his large fingers were rubbing and twirling around her nipples. She craved his touch and his body. Her nipples hardened, and he knew instinctively that she wouldn't turn him away. He didn't want to just take her, and he could easily do that, but her refusal of him was unheard of in the pack. Female werewolves fought to be taken by him, but because they were barren because of their inbreeding, they could no longer reproduce. The only way he could replenish his pack was to mate with this human female. Wilder had known this day would come. He had set